So let me take you back. I've always had ideas and I still do, but sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small, and sometimes they're completely random and will never see the light of day. Like I tried to sell carrots. Yep, didn't work, but I gave it a try. I was at primary school. I don't think I was in high school when I did that. Possibly you can relate though. So you got 10 different brilliant ideas before breakfast, but last week's and probably the weeks before to-do list is still sitting there untouched. And that is the classic struggle of being a visionary in business. And I just wanted to unpack it with you a little bit today. So in business, there are usually two powerhouse roles. One is the visionary, so the dreamer, the ideas person, the one that sees the possibilities, and the integrator, the person that's meant to integrate those crazy ideas, but the executor. So they execute the systems, they build them, they're the detail person who makes those ideas happen. And most businesses have both. So you can think of Walt Disney. He was the visionary who dreamed up, Disney, and his brother Roy, who made sure that those visions come to life, I suppose. He made sure that actually got built. Or you've got Steve Jobs, who was a big picture genius, and then you had Steve Wozniak, who was the one that engineered Steve's wild ideas. But visionaries inspire and the integrators implement. Now, I'm not saying an integrator can't be a visionary or vice versa. Usually they are very distinct, but usually one or the other. And if you can find the right people together, you can create magic. So I started Aqua back in 2016, and then I started my second legal practice, All Star Conveyancing, in 2020. A few years later, had that personal brand start to build, which was my bigger vision for things. So for programs, speaking, podcasts, etc. And because I had nothing else to do, I started the mortgage broking business, Confetti Finance, last year as well. But here's the truth. With every new idea, I often ended up overwhelmed, and I still do, because I'm here filming this on a Saturday with a massive headache because I've gone too far again, and I need to learn to not do that. But, I currently still have half-finished ideas sitting there that are recent, that are old, all while trying to run these multiple businesses, and it can be really, really overwhelming. And that's what it looks like when a visionary doesn't have an integrator. It can be really frustrating, really hard on you. But I actually do have an integrator. I have an amazing VA, Nina, who has been with me for around 3 to 4 years. And Jim joined us this year, who'll be the one that'll be editing all my stuff ups in this podcast if I've had a moment. But Nina's been with me long enough to even tell me not to do things. So that's too crazy, Stacy. And I'm sure Jim, given time, will probably do the exact same thing, which, is what you need. But when you are trying to do it all at the start, when you have to be both roles, the visionary and the integrator, you will probably chase shiny objects. You will struggle with the execution. You will avoid the systems and the processes, and you will probably burn out. And that's not to say you could get an integrator. Those things won't happen. If you're anything like me, it'll probably be a constant battle. And burnout for me has happened more times than I can admit, and I should know better by now, but I don't. So this is very much a do as I say and not as I do type thing. But some tips for those who are starting out and maybe you can't afford to have some help yet. But yeah, before I had a team, hang on. So here are some tips for people starting out, and you might not be able to afford somebody yet. So I can hear you saying, that's awesome, Stacy. I can't afford a VA or an integrator. Completely fine. I couldn't at the start either. And this is, as I said, very much do as I say, not as I do, because I think lately I've been really bad at trying to rest and not do the things. But try to pick one idea and commit to it. So try not to launch 5 different things at once. Pick the one that excites you the most and then finish it. Use some free tools. So there's Trello, there's Asana, there's the notes app on your phone. Get your ideas out of your head and into a simple system. I currently use Monday, and it has been an absolute game changer. The amount of things I screenshot and that have just gone there to die, I've even started getting better with those and making sure they're going to a folder, which is like Stacy's ideas. Some of them come to life. Some of them will probably just die and never be seen again, but they're there. create a weekly not negotiable. So for me, it was that one action that was going to move the business forward, even if everything else was chaos. So that could be making a phone call to catch up with coffee, to, try and get a referrer on board, or whatever it might be, try to do that one thing. And if you can find an accountability partner, a friend, a mastermind, a community, just so you can have somebody there, because you'll be amazed at how much more you will follow through if you said you're going to do something, because that person should be doing their job and keeping you accountable. So the integrator mindset is about discipline and systems, and you can start building those muscles even before you hire someone. You don't have to stay being the integrator, but to move the needle forward, you're going to have to implement something. I also have a daily reminder that says, what can I eliminate and replace today? And it honestly makes me stop and think, can I scrap an idea, or can I delegate it to somebody else who will actually get that done? And if you check out podcast number 42, I talk about the game changer for me about the whole red dress. So we'll link that below, but 42 will help you cull some of those ideas. But this dynamic is everywhere, and it's not just in business, it's in relationships too. One person is usually the visionary, the other is the integrator. When it's in balance, amazing. When it's not, conflict grows. So even if you have the wrong people together, so the visionary and the integrator, it's probably not going to work either. And a lot of the time I see visionaries, definitely including myself, saying, if I don't do it all, it won't get done. And that can get really, really exhausting. So having that self-awareness, knowing your role and knowing your strengths is what creates that freedom. So I suppose the takeaway for here is, don't try and be both of those roles permanently, because it probably won't work. Start with where you're at, build some small systems, find that accountability. When you're ready, bring in the support that lets you focus on what you do best. Usually it's very clear which one you are. And if you are a visionary, you may also need to be that integrator, as I said, so you can afford to pay somebody in the future to help you integrate some things. So visionaries are meant to dream big. Integrators are the ones that are meant to make it real. And together you can be really unstoppable. Now, some of those things, as I said, won't see the light of day, but that's where having the right team together can really make those visions come true. So if this has landed with you, I'd love you to share it with another business owner, because I promise they are probably spinning in the same cycle right now. Thank you for listening. Please follow the podcast so you make sure you don't miss any episodes. If you have a story of your own about being a visionary or an integrator, I'd love to hear it. Jump into my DMs and tell me which one you are. And stay safe. Have a great day, and I'll catch you next week. See ya.